Well, here's another aspect of the PM's response that really concerned me, or maybe this is just me being part of the Sydney media bubble. Worse than waiting 24 hours to address the public, Anthony Albanese waited a full 24 hours to convene the National Security Committee. Stephen, am I wrong in this to expect that maybe that should have happened as a matter of urgency rather than waiting a whole day after events are already moving?
Well, one of the things about the National Security Committee is usually you like to make sure it's properly briefed. You don't run on a journalist's Twitter timetable where you need to be able to, publish something, no matter how accurate or inaccurate, in 5 minutes to prove that you're the fastest journalist in the world. So the National Security Committee is a considered body. There's a lot happening yesterday. They'd want to be able to make sure they're well informed. You want to coordinate with other governments. I mean, if you look at what many governments in Europe have said, they've welcomed this. So there's all sorts of conversations that will have been taking place, and then the National Security Committee would meet, get a considered briefing on what's happened as the general. I mean, first rule in politics is you never ask a question you don't know the answer to. So unfortunately, you took one, below the waterline there when he actually said, no, it's just operational security. So there's a whole range of issues that would have been pulled together by DFAT, by defence, briefings from the US Embassy, all of that. So you like National Security Committee not to just behave like a pack of journalists at a media conference, but to actually be considered in their actions.
Well, I take your point that you don't want the national security being briefed by Twitter, but Michael, I would have assumed our National Security Committee would be briefed by, our major ally, the Americans.
I think Jack Keane, Stephen's right, gave you the answer that the Americans were so tight on this. That's part of the reason for its success. It was operational security. Now, Wong and Albanese deserve a lot of criticism for all of the missteps they've made in foreign policy, particularly disassociating ourselves from the Americans over Israel and failing to make the case for the Israelis being able to defend themselves. But on this occasion, I think, in order to preserve the security of those B-2 pilots that were fainting that they were going to Diego Garcia via Guam, they kept it very tight. But, we should have come out earlier and said that, like Keir Starmer said, that this was the right thing to do. Penny Wong didn't have to wait 24 hours for Kevin Rudd to panic in Washington and say, look, guys, you better say something about this if you want to visit Trump in the next few weeks.
All right, I couldn't help but notice the PM was pretty tetchy when asked if he had spoken with Donald Trump since being snubbed at the G7 in Canada last week. There was talk Anthony Albanese would try to meet with Trump at the upcoming NATO summit, but that's not happening now. And here's the PM's terse reply when asked about his relationship with Donald Trump today. Have a listen.
Prime Minister, have you spoken to President Donald Trump since the G7 summit?
No.
Now, Stephen Conroy, I heard you laughing there, but the world is on the verge of war, and the Prime Minister of Australia doesn't appear to have any personal relationship whatsoever with the leader of the free world.
Well, I appreciate again the media would just love the Prime Minister to go over and get a bullying and a beating from Donald Trump to help them sell newspapers. But seriously, Donald Trump has humiliated or attempted to humiliate the Canadian Prime Minister. He's humiliated the NATO Prime Ministers and Chancellors. He's humiliated Keir Starmer. Just get off your high horse on this issue. Yes, he has.
Stephen,
seriously, he's actually been barracking for Nigel Farage. He has played the game to play to his vanity and his ego. Okay, he has attacked Starmer and the British Labor Party repeatedly, Michael, and you know this to be a fact. He has attacked them repeatedly over the last 3 or 4 months.
Trump's campaign, which was very ill-advised. But are you saying that if he goes over, that Albo goes over to Washington, that he'll get the Zelensky treatment? I don't think that's true. I think Rudd should have positioned us in a different position. I think that's that's a reflection of Albo and Wong's terrible foreign policy stances. They're being advised by these DFAT officials who've got no idea that we're working in a different world, and that you have to pick a side when one side is being threatened with nuclear weapons, one side is a democracy, and the other side is a theocratic state that hangs gays, rapes and murders women, and sponsors international terrorism. There aren't two sides to this. We're on one side. We're a democracy like Israel and the United States. And we shouldn't be afraid of Donald Trump. We should grab it with both hands. And there are many countries who've got fair hearings from him, but they haven't annoyed him beforehand like we have.
Well, it sounded to me, Stephen, like
Michael, as you
saying Anthony Albanese's running scared of Donald Trump. I want to move on to one more topic.
No, it's not what I said at all.
Off this
That's not what I said at all.
It sounds like he doesn't want to go to the White House because he's scared he'll get the Zelensky treatment. He'll get treated like Stalin.
No,
so he's,
I said that's what
keeping his distance.
That's what the media.
Like.
That's what the Sydney media bubble wants to see, okay? And Albo's just a bit too smart for that. Even if that drives the Sydney media. Well, I think if it was possible, I mean, you start off by saying he was snubbed. He actually went back. Clearly, this had been planning for a little while. He went back to deal with that. He may or may not be going to NATO. I've got no information whether he's going or not. He might want to go now. But he was clearly... No, I'm talking about whether Trump goes to NATO. I genuinely have no idea. But my point being, Trump has correctly prioritised this strike above a G7 meeting and possibly a NATO meeting. So this is him taking, the first time I've noticed when he was president, operational. Yeah, well, he actually did pretty well distracting everybody from what he was actually really doing. And credit to Donald Trump. That's the first time in my life I've ever said that. But credit to him for completely blindsiding the Iranians. And credit to him for, I'm not quite as confident yet. I'm like many of the generals who've been involved and did the briefing next to Hesketh, where they weren't quite prepared to say it's. We've obliterated. I hope Donald Trump is right, but his generals who are doing the job and working with people on the ground weren't quite prepared to say that. I hope Trump's right on this.
I got to finish it there. I got to finish it there. But what a great note to finish on. Stephen Conroy giving credit to Donald Trump. We'll leave it there. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me.